By way of information, the quanta was proposed by Max Planck in his attempt to prove that electromagnetic radiation consists of individual packages, which are also called photons. The elementary quantity, indivisible, this energy is called quantum. Therefore, the affection would be a beam of light, quantum, that transmits power through individual packets, quanta, or more accurately, photons. During the transition of electrons between the old orbit, and that is to be achieved, they live in a kind of fog, dark space, in which electrons behave as if they were scattered over a vast region of space. The ego, as a complex, meeting of quanta of energy, is lost in a kind of quantum dust, which before I called a conscience still in training, in search of a new stability. To this are issued sensors temporary that will, as possible ways of consciousness, until the next orbit in which electrons can settle. In quantum theory, these sensors are called virtual transitions, while his new home is called real transition. The release of these sensors is equivalent to images originated in the unconscious to guide the direction of the electrons in an attempt to fit them into a new orbit. Some scientists claim that quantum physics, and more specifically a quantum mechanical model of consciousness, allows us to see ourselves, our souls, if you will, as full partners in the processes of nature, both in matter and matter. If being is a being, possibly we can follow their dynamics, contemplate the inherent beauty of the cosmos manifests itself in the causal connections that are established in harmony with the universe. The vector, symbolizing the transcendent function, could be understood as a beam of light, quantum, that runs through the individual. And all that comes temporally with a wave of depression and despair, in the context of the transformation of personality, the awareness and experience of fantasies determine the assimilation of the lower and unconscious functions to consciousness, causing profound effects on the conscious attitude. I will not discuss now in its details how this can change a personality. I want to emphasize only the fact that it is an essential change. I called a transcendent function to this change obtained by the confrontation with the unconscious. Having the individual cover the various levels of consciousness, no longer occur identification, e.g., this concerns me, with the affections, light beams that interpret. In this layer, the nature of the problems becomes another. The level has nothing to do with the complexity of problems, what affects, but with the very nature of the affections. In fact, what changes in the process is the way we relate to the issues that arise in life. Only when we are affected, we can think of to understand what caused this, in the feel, or the source of this energy density. The more one understands the nature of effects, more the proper distance of the energy field, morphogenetic, in which an hour was affected. When a patient, in his therapeutic process, for example, begins to discuss their issues, of course, your speech reveals their emotional density, that is, in every discourse there is an affective charge, psychophysical, that can be calculated if the therapist is reading through the intellect, the module, the direction and the direction vector, affection as displacement vector. If perhaps at some point the therapist to identify with affection, that is, during the displacement of affect, it is hit or affected passively as stated by Spinoza, there will likely be a backlash of the patient since he has not made aware of the nature of their affections, which prevents the reading accuracy. This, as it was said initially, does not carry the truth claim or any other claim that has no aim to draw on content to communicate, that is, to make clear that for many, as much as for me, still presents unclear. The fact that we found within this work names of thinkers and philosophers before our time only means trying to dialogue with those who may again think to such issues, helping to clarify what we now understand as necessary for the progress of humanity. Terms used herein cannot be defined because they have not yet become concepts. Since the construction of thought clarifies the idea that it intends to transmit, but there emerges a concept and can then be placed as a definition. I am aware that much of what is written here is previously mentioned by Carl Gustav Jung. It should not be a burden to the extent that whole observations and reflections of the same nature. Any human being who reflects on the meaning of life, about the meaning of man in the world, will surely approach such thoughts. Therefore, it is of real origin we take as valuable his contribution to the studies in the field of the psyche, but we are open to new buildings and new perspectives on the same phenomena.